Alright, everybody, y'all know who it is, Metro Meta, and
At one Marcus Flowers.
we'd like to thank you for watching and listening to our content. We'd like to thank you even more if you leave a like, a comment.
Subscribe, definitely subscribe. We need that. Subscription.
And don't forget to share with all your friends and tell us how you feel.
And tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that you got it from 26 and Glencoe Media Network.
Keep it real.
Welcome. Y'all know who it is, Metro Meta, he who shall not be named, he who will rise. And I'm here with
Flo, aka Marcus Flowers, aka Flo's my hero, aka call me what you want, just don't call me lazy. And we in here, it has been quite a while since we have done this, but we have resurrected it. It is the Daily Planet review podcast, and today we are reviewing a show that it really just sparked our interest, The God of High School. And Meta, you told me about it, so tell me how you came across it.
So, for those guys who don't know, The God of High School is part of a new initiative by Crunchyroll. So Crunchyroll is one of the world's largest anime watching sites, and I guess this year they decided this new initiative to start producing their own shows, and they took a risk with it in that they decided they were going to start producing shows based on webtoon comics. So for those of you guys who don't know, most anime tends to be based on either light novels or comics. It's kind of rare to get like an anime that's purely based on its own self. And so Webtoons is a popular comic site that basically it really took off these past couple of years, ever since the 2000s, and it has a strong base of Korean comic makers, and it takes a lot of just different licenses from both anime and Korean culture. And so Crunchyroll, when they started this new initiative, decided that they were going to make shows based on these Korean webtoon comics. So they started off this year with, I think it was called, let me see, it was like Tower of God, something like that. Let me see if I can find it. It's probably still up here. They started with, I think it was Tower of Gods. I think it was called Tower of Gods. And so this is the second show that they're coming out with, Gods of High School. So of course, Crunchyroll's pushing it, so they put it on as many platforms as possible, got as many people talking about it. So of course it was in my scape, and I decided to watch the first episode. I really liked it, and in my head I was like, you know what, this is just like WWE. Mark is gonna love this. So I just kicked down his door. I was like, hey yo, watch The God of High School. So that's how I ran by it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, when it normally takes me a little while to watch like anime and other things of that nature, just because it's not my favorite thing to do. But I will say I was intrigued by God of High School when you told me the synopsis is basically a fighting tournament that you decide, and it really and normally I usually just chill on like animes, but within like the first 30 seconds we're going to talk about episode 1 and 2. But seeing episode 1 and the way it started, I was like, okay, I'm in on this. So but yeah, so basically, do you want to talk about how episode 1 starts, or first let's read the synopsis of episode 1,
or let's just read the synopsis of the show?
We have to read both.
All right. So Jin Mori.
So this is the synopsis of the show.
Yeah, Jin Mori proclaims himself the strongest high schooler. His life changes when he's invited to participate in the God of High School, a tournament to determine the strongest high schooler of all. He's told that if he wins, any wish he makes will be granted. All the participants are powerful contenders who fight their hardest for their own wishes. What awaits them at the end of the tournament, a chaotic battle between unbelievably strong high school students, is about to begin. So overall, first episode, it's just an introduction to the whole crew, to his like main crew. So we meet Jin Mori and his female counterpart and his male counterpart. They did the classic matchup of two boys and a girl, like one cruel boy, one rowdy boy, and
it was
girl.
interesting the way we meet. Ooh,
what's her name?
Go
to the top. We meet
So Jin Mori, he's the main character, and we meet Yu Mura and Han Dewey. I could be saying those names wrong.
They're Korean names.
But okay. But so we meet them. So basically Jin Mori's like, yo, I gotta do this for my grandfather. He really wants me to like succeed in this. And he's on his way to the tournament when he witnesses an old lady crying and say, help, stop the thief, and he sees the thief go by on his motorcycle, and he's on a bike. And one of the weird things that I noticed is like, how is he on a bike keeping up with a motorcycle?
I think
you have to be strong for that.
That was the point, to show off how strong of a character these kids are. Just with their... It has a big focus on martial arts. Right. Which one of the things I wanted to talk about is this is, again, based on a Korean webcomic as opposed to a manga. So as an anime fan, there were a lot of things I found interesting just culturally watching this anime compared to others. Just because I'm used to like more Japanese... What? No.
Nothing.
Just because I'm used to more like Japanese shows where they use their culture. Right. And this, of course, the names and all that. But like ironically, in Japanese anime, there isn't a lot of kung fu or just martial arts based shows. Like there's shows that have martial arts in them, but they don't tend to be a lot of the big focus. So that was interesting going into this.
Yeah, no, and it really piqued my interest when you told me it was a Korean based web series, just because I'm more familiar with like animes from like Japan. But when you said, hey, this is based off of a Korean web series, I was like, okay, let's see what it's talking about. And that also piqued my interest. But back to it. So as Jin Murray is chasing the robber, we come across Yu Mura, who is basically, would you say, playing possum with a group of martial artists?
No, I think
because she was just like, oh, I'm so impressed by your muscles, and
I think she generally likes muscled men. I think that was a joke, is that she likes like really fit men. And then we meet Han Wei, who was working his job at the convenience store, and just hilariousness ensues with them chasing the bike and just it getting progressively crazier. And we got to see the level of animation there. And I think that was the point of it and what I liked.
So with Han Dewey, his story is I think his is the most interesting one, just because it seems like so far he has a family, but he doesn't have a family, and he's basically working shifts at a bodega or a gas station at night to make ends meet. Yeah, to make ends meet. And he goes to the store. He works at the store at night and then goes to school during the day. So hopefully we get more of his backstory, and because he's also physically gifted as well.
And so that leads us into the tournament.
Bro, let's talk more about the robberies, just like how we got to see all three of their powers just on showcase. Like we see Jin with his like motor skills and his feet, and then we see Yu Mara with
so
her
she
sword.
uses a wooden sword.
Yeah,
I liked her. Yeah. She was interesting. She is a bit of a ditz. She did also lose her glasses, which came in.
Well, she didn't lose her glasses. He knocked her glasses off.
And
Jin moked her glasses off, so that's not being a ditz. But and then we see it was basically like a triangle offense, so to say, when it came to catching this war robber. We had Jin Moreau chasing him. We had Yu Mara with her sword attacking him, and then we had Han with his final blow, and we get to witness his power. And then they go straight into the tournament, and it's basically a free-for-all. and we get to see more of their power on display.
One of the things that I thought was interesting was in the tournament arc, they gave them these like tracking devices.
Right, yes.
And they basically said you can do whatever you want and we can heal you up. Which is adding to the very beginning of the show where we saw some politician was being harassed by a couple of rich people on their island, and he attacks them and just leaves this giant hand mark. Because in the first episode, we don't see a lot of like mystical elements in the show, but we do see a hint of the mystical elements, and I think that is the beginning of it. And I'm getting a lot of, from this show, do you remember the show Oban Star Racers?
Yes.
I'm getting a lot of just vibes from that, of just like the tournament. And is this tournament on the up and up? What's going to happen? I'm getting a lot of vibes of that in this show. And they introduced a character you liked, Marcus, Kang Mizuko, the basic the
Kang. Yeah, so when he's in the tournament, he's basically strapped, and he's just like defeating everybody who he comes across. And it's just of course he's like the typical bad guy, but right now we don't think he's a bad guy.
I think he's definitely a bad guy.
You thought he was a bad guy right away?
I definitely think the impression I got from him was he was straight out of prison.
Yeah, I think that's what they said as well, but he's like clear and far ahead, and even Jin, he has the hero mindset of, oh yeah, I can't wait to fight him, I can't wait to beat him. And in that original tournament, we see him really just taking over the field and defeating people basically with his hands tied.
It was like you didn't see this, but when Madara showed up in the Fifth Ninja War, and he just started whooping everybody. Going into episode 2.
Well, let's continue on episode 1 just a little.
What is left in episode 1?
Well, just like they had the tournament and as well, and what was the politician's role? He wasn't a prime minister. He was
close to prime minister or something like that.
He was, but it was like really up there. And it comes to reveal that it's his company that's hosting the tournament.
And he walks up on the president of the United States.
Right. And we also see after he attacked the men, we see his cross signature on the island, and we also see it in his company. And so it's like, okay, so this tournament is for the God of High School title, but there is a deeper connection here that's really going to get deeper as the series goes on. And so now we can go to episode 2. Let's read the synopsis for episode 2. Mori, Dewi, and Marahai have made it through the first preliminary round, with the next round coming up. The three of them talk about their reasons for entering the tournament. Mary says she's hoping to find a strong... this was not... Anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened. So basically going into episode 2, we have they're trying to develop these new characters. So with his new friends that he has, let's go. Yin Mori, we see that she basically is there to find a successor to her family's dojo, and they practice sword style of like the moon and stuff. And I'm really interested in our arc and how she thinks she can find someone who is better for her dojo than basically herself. And we see them just becoming friends in general, which was kind of heartwarming. And then they go into the actual tournament. And that was interesting because we got to see their different fighting styles. And they set up this Tai Chi master, which, why are you going to this with Tai Chi fighting?
Right.
And so he had a big focus on, like, my goal in this fight is to make sure that I don't win. Not to make sure that I don't lose my morals as a fighter. And he goes up again, Kang Masako, who is basically he was a beast of a monster.
Yes.
Out here and straight up almost killing my man.
And it's crazy because we're seeing the the difference in fighting styles. We have a person who's resisting the urge to lose himself in fighting, while we have an opponent who's all in on physicality and brutality, and making sure that not only does his opponent suffer, but that he loses his life. And it goes so far that in the beginning, he says, you're going to need both of your restraints gone in order to face me head on. And we see when he gets one of the restraints off, he's like, okay, I see you're really kind of about this. But once he gets both of them off, he's like, okay, playtime is over. And he really delivers like the blows to him towards the fact where he's basically, and this is where you think start to see him being a bad guy. And it's like, okay, you are willing to make this man suffer until you make him lose his life.
Yeah. And the thing that I found extremely interesting was, so I don't remember what it was, but the name of it, but Kang was using a particular fighting style,
right? And
they specifically said that it was, I think it was like either,
it was banned.
It wasn't banned, but they said it was from the Eastern style, and it was more brutal and based on things.
Right.
And it seemed like Jin had an understanding of that fighting, like he was trained in it. And so in the flashbacks we see of Kang, we see him getting completely just demolished by someone I think who was on the staff, and we start to see why Kang himself might be there. And I'm interested to see the connection between Jin, Kang, and whoever trained Kang in that fighting style.
Right.
Because I definitely feel like there probably is a connection there. So let's get into your overall feelings of the show.
Okay.
So how do you feel?
Oh no, we forgot. So did you talk about how Jin interrupted?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jin interrupts the fight.
Yep. And one thing that I noticed for sure, that like when he was going to fight him, they activated his watch and his body went numb. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of worrisome, because it's
I don't think they activated his watch. I think that guy just beat him.
No, they stopped the battle when he interrupted.
No, I think they beat him. Remember that guy walked in and just like body slammed both of them.
No, and then he said I couldn't move because they activated his watch, which is something to look for, because it's like, okay, you have motion of your body until we say you don't, which is something to look at, just because if you have the title of God of High School, you're basically doing that company's bidding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So not only is that guy, I wouldn't call him evil just yet. I think he likes brutality. But it's starting to seem that like that company who's running the tournament is the true evil entity.
I mean, yeah, going back to the Oban Star Racers thing.
Right.
So the production design on this show is amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was just
the animation stuff. You can see they got money.
Beautiful.
They got,
and even like the motions, it's just like, okay, wow, y'all really put y'all really put a lot of time and effort into it, and you also did have the budget so that everything looks smooth.
And again, I think this is Crunchyroll I think Crunchyroll is getting close to doing what Netflix did, where they stopped leaning on other people's content and just making their own content. Did you find the advertising weird though?
Yes, I wouldn't say weird because I didn't see any advertisements.
In the promotion of the show, in the background, you could see that the tournament itself is sponsored by Crunchyroll.
No, I didn't mind it either way, just because it's a tournament sponsor. It makes sense to me.
I mean, but in this world, it's just because it was clear advertising on their behalf, and again, they paid for the show. They have the right to do that. I did think a lot of people would say stuff like, "Oh, it breaks immersion." Maybe. I think there are certain types of shows that kind of work with advertising, and there are certain shows that don't. I do think it's going to be interesting to see how they continue to do that throughout the series, and if it's going to get worse or better. Overall, I think there's an interesting foray into the webtoons and Crunchyroll just publishing their own content. So this is the second one after their Tower of Gods. There's a few more coming out at the end. I think there's one based on Aztecs, which looks very interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see those. We'll see how this goes throughout the series and if it can continue to be as popular as it is right now.
I think I'm gonna read ahead so that I kind of know what's gonna happen next. Yeah, just because it was supposed to release today or maybe tomorrow.
Let's check the release calendar. 1 minute. It's Saturday, so a lot of shows release. Oh, I don't see it.
So it releases sometime in the near future.
Sometime.
But
oh, Monday. It releases Monday.
So hopefully we'll see that. But make sure this is not sponsored by Crunchyroll. But we do suggest this show. This is just the beginning. We're gonna have a lot of reviews for other shows that we have been watching during quarantine. Make sure you are following us on all social media platforms at Flow My Hero, at MetroMeta26. Follow the brand on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at 26 and Glencoe Media Network. Do you have anything to add?
Leave us a comment. How do you feel about this show?
Yes, and until next time, we will talk to you later. Peace.
All right, everybody. Y'all know who it is, Metro Meta and
At one Marcus Flowers.
And we'd like to thank you for watching and listening to our content. We'd like to thank you even more if you leave a like, a comment,
Subscribe. Definitely subscribe. We need that. Subscribe. Subscription.
Hey, don't forget to share with all your friends and tell us how you feel.
And tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that you got it from 26 and Glencoe Media Network.
Keep it real.